welcome back to Distro Dive. This is episode 2. This is the second ever dive, and today we're taking a dive into... Wait, I need to find it. Where is it? Oh, right here. It's Ubuntu 2404 LTS Noble Numbat. I think that's the actual name. I'm not really sure about that, but anyway. So, while I'm waiting for this to boot, why Ubuntu? Like, I'm sure you'll be writing down in the comments like, oh hey, Akalos, you said that you're gonna take a dive into Alpine Linux, and what happened? Why is this Ubuntu? Well, as it turns out, Alpine Linux doesn't really like NVIDIA graphics card, and my computer has an NVIDIA graphics card. So basically, it was almost impossible to use. Like, I managed to get it installed, and I have like a 15 to 20 minutes video of the actual installation, but it kind of failed. Oh, wait, what's that? Alright, I guess we got an error, but it's okay. Anyway, we're preparing Ubuntu. But yeah, before I start installing, what actually happened is that I went through the whole installation and all that, and when it finished, I installed GNOME, and when that finished, it was not really working all that nice. Like, it was lagging and I couldn't do most stuff. So at the end I was like, you know what, let's not do this. And yeah, I was honestly thinking of cancelling this episode completely, but I kinda wanted to do another one, because that's what I promised you guys, and I know that this isn't Alpine Linux, but at least, hey, it's something, it's a Linux distro. And the reason that I chose Ubuntu, oh, we got another system program problem detected, anyway, the reason that I went with Ubuntu is because A, it was the first ever distro that I actually used and loved and liked. B, it's like the most popular Linux distro, at least for beginners, although I don't think it should be, but anyway. And then 3, this year and this release marks the 20th anniversary of Ubuntu. Like, the first version was 4.04, yes, 4.04, and this is 24.04. And this is such a huge milestone, and I want to go back, take another dive into Ubuntu, and see whether it's better than what it was last time that I used it with version 2004, or if it's worse, you know, this could be an option, and does it like deserve most of the hate that it gets. So let's get right into it. Now I'm gonna hit cancel on that, and I'll go with English, you know, accessibility options. This is nice. This is the brand new installer of Ubuntu. It has basically the same steps as Ubiquity, just it's nicer. It's written in Rust, I believe, and yeah, it's just a lot nicer. But anyway, I don't need any of these, and my keyboard layout is English US. In fact, thank you. And I'll use the wired connection because I don't have a Wi-Fi card available, and I'd like to install Ubuntu straight away. And now this is different, but in case you're wondering why it didn't prompt me for an installer update, is because I've already done that. Now, this is something completely different. Now, for years, Ubuntu had a completely manual installation. You had to go through the installer and select all the steps and all the options that you wanted. Well, now they have an automated installation, and essentially how it works is that you select this, and then you paste the link of an autoinstall.yaml file, and it lists all the different options and configurations that you want. So it just goes through the whole installation completely automatically without you having to press anything, basically. But I don't have that, so we're gonna go for the standard interactive installation. So I'm gonna hit next. And now, another difference, although I think that was the case with the last version as well, it no longer is default to the extended selection, what it says here. This used to be called normal and minimal. Well, it's like it automatically selects the minimal version, the minimal installation, so it only installs the bare minimum. And the extended selection, which was basically the default, is now optional. And this is something that I love, and I think that it's an amazing choice, and kudos to you, Ubuntu. This is amazing. Well done. So I'm gonna go with the default selection, obviously. I don't want any bloat. And third-party proprietary software, of course, third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, and support for additional media formats. This is the same as before, nothing's different. So now it should prompt me, yeah, how do you want to install Ubuntu? And we have a few different options. And this time, unlike Linux Mint, I won't do a manual installation because I want to see what it does by default, and I hope that it doesn't ruin my Fedora again. Although now that I'm thinking back at it, it probably will. Should I change it to... You know what? No, I'm gonna have trust on Ubuntu. So I won't install here. No. I will install on SDB. SDB is a 240.06 gigabyte SSD. And you might be like, hold up, you have a brand new SSD? I thought that it was like 120 gigs, what happened? And then you're gonna be looking there and be like, no, that's the same case, it obviously is the same. No, this is a brand new SSD. This is a Crucial BX500, I think, 240 gigs SSD SATA 3. And the reason I got this is because after what happened with Linux Mint, it completely stopped working. I couldn't format it, I couldn't write stuff on it, nothing. So maybe what happened with Linux Mint was because of the SSD failure, but maybe what happened with SSD caused the failure. I'm not really sure, so I'll probably revisit Linux Mint someday in the future, you know, to give it justice. So, choose where to install Ubuntu. That's the right hard drive, Ubuntu SDB, and I hope that it installs the bootloader on SDB, because if not, we're gonna have a huge problem. I'm gonna hit next, and I'll create my account. So my name, you know what my name is, it's me. My computer name is actually going to be Papas-Ubuntu-SSB. Username me, that's perfectly fine. I'm gonna type in my super secret and complicated password because I don't want anyone stealing my stuff. And now, require password to login. Yes, don't use Active Directory, I don't need it, so yeah. And everything is perfect. I like this icon. Why? That's not a weak password. Anyway, I'm gonna hit next. I'm gonna select my time zone, which is Europe, Athens, of course. And yeah, that's about it. Disk setup, erase disk and install Ubuntu on SDB. Default selection, disk encryption none, proprietary software codecs and drivers, partitions, bootify and root. That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna hit install. And we are installing, and the drive is not really doing anything. Like the little light that has isn't moving at all, although it says here that we are copying files. So yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there. Anyway, while this is installing, I want to explain why I'm still recording from my phone, my iPhone 15, and not installing OBS on the live environment and then installing the system. Although that's what I kinda wanted to do. Oh, it just started blinking. Yeah, that's what I originally planned on doing, but while testing, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, it completely crashed while recording on OBS. So I'm not sure if this has to do with the external hard drive or the Ventoi flash drive, or my system not being able to install and record at the same time, or an Ubuntu issue. So I decided to not mess it up again and record the installation from my phone. I know that some people have trouble with like moving my phone and all that, although it's pretty stabilized, but still not really. So I look into how I can record it better, but if I'm being completely honest, I somewhat prefer recording from my phone. That's like how I would prefer seeing someone install an operating system, because it's more authentic. It's like I'm experiencing it as well, which is nice. And also, what you might have realized is that my MacBook is closed, which means that I'm not live. This is the first episode that is not being broadcasted live as I'm installing, and this happened because I don't have the time. I only have like 20 or so minutes for this, and maybe I'll do the rest someday in the future, or like a couple hours from now, I don't know. But I don't have time to also configure everything and live stream and edit that and upload it and make thumbnails and all that. No. I am gonna be live streaming the gaming session in a couple of days. I think it's on the 18th, today is the 8th. So in 10 days, this will happen and everything will be as usual, but this time I won't have a live installation / preparation of Ubuntu because I just don't have the time, I'm sorry. But anyway, that's about it. I really like this installation screen, and I like the fact that it doesn't show the dock while you're booted on the live environment and just click install. Like if I was to click try, then yeah, the dock will pop from the left side of the screen, but no, I like it this way. And with that, I think that's finally time to cut to the finished installation. And after, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe a bit less, I don't know, this was a really fast install. It finally finished installing. Ubuntu 24.04.1 LTS is installed and ready to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit restart now, and I'm gonna pray for the best. I'm actually gonna pray that it hasn't messed up my Fedora installation, so I'll probably just boot into that first. But before I do that, I have to remove the flash drive, and I'm also gonna change my mouse back to like the default port that I use. It's not the default for the mouse or something, it's just the one that I like using. So now what I'll actually do, I think, is I'll remove that hard drive and make sure that my computer boots up normally. So I'm gonna hit enter, I'm gonna wait for it to shut down, and now I'm just gonna remove this and I'll put into the BIOS to make sure that it's not screwed up, because if it is, I'm not gonna have a fun time. So let's go to BIOS. Boot option 1 is still Fedora, which is nice. And we do have an Ubuntu one, but that's probably from Linux Mint. So if that's the case, when I plug in this one, like it shows up as a separate Ubuntu installation, then Ubuntu takes a crown, honestly. It takes the win for that. So I plug it in, and I'm going to reboot. So Control-Alt-Delete, which I can't do while holding my phone, so hold up a minute. And now that I press that, I'm gonna go back into my BIOS, and for anyone wondering why I don't use my boot menu, is because it doesn't work. If I press F12, nothing comes up, blank screen, and then it reboots. So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that. And we have we have a separate one. We have a separate Ubuntu on JMicron generic, which is the case that I'm using, and it has a capital U. This is the one that Mint infested my main hard drive with. So let's go, Ubuntu. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. It like actually worked and did. Oh wait, my camera's messed up. Come on. Yeah, it actually worked and did what it's supposed to do, which is amazing. And I wasn't expecting that with Ubuntu in specifically. Like, wow. Alright, I'm already impressed with Ubuntu. I still have a few issues with it because I've already tried this version before, so I know some things that I won't like, but hey, that worked perfectly fine. And the boot time is not the best, as I can see. That probably has to do with the fact that it's the first boot, and also from an external SSD, which isn't the fastest SSD in the world. So I'm still not seeing anything. Hello. I really hope that this is working and that it hasn't locked up or anything. I'll try moving my mouse a bit. No, this won't work. Obviously I don't have a graphical environment, but I'm not sure why I'm doing that. Should I try hearing anything? Like, it's been a solid 2 minutes and nothing has popped up. So, alright, we'll start slow. I want to see if this is a known issue with NVIDIA and the GNOME and that, and it's that it doesn't display the proper login window. So I'm gonna hit enter, I'm gonna type my super secret and complicated password, and yeah, that was the issue as it turns out. Wow. I'm guessing that it just didn't install the actual drivers. Like, before I do this, no, it has the drivers. What the? And this is Xorg? What? Wait, I'll come back to this after I install OBS. So let's go through the welcome to Ubuntu screen first. Next. Alright, Ubuntu Pro. Now, what is Ubuntu Pro, in case you don't know? It's basically a service that offers updates. Technically, like, if you don't have Ubuntu Pro, you won't get as many updates as someone that has Ubuntu Pro, and you won't even get some core updates that you need. So this is really shady. Luckily, it's free for personal use up to like 5 machines or something, and I will actually go ahead and enable Ubuntu Pro. So I get the attached machine, I get a little code over here, and I'll have to scooch over here to my MacBook. I'll have to log in and go to Safari, and this is ubuntu.com/pro/attach, and it requires me to log in. I don't want you seeing this. I have an Ubuntu One account, yes, and the personal data requests, yes, log me in, and I can attach my machine by just typing the code that I see displayed there, and subscription to attach, free personal token, that's perfect, and I'm gonna hit submit. Success. So now if I go back here, it says valid token, and I can just select next and type in my super secret password, and now I just have to wait for this to enable. Last time that I tried this on a VM, it took well over 5 minutes to enable, and I'm not sure why that happens, but I hope that it takes less time this time. So yeah. Oh, we just got the little icon, it's called Live Patch, and Ubuntu Pro services, your subscriptions, Ubuntu Pro, free personal subscription, and yep, that's perfectly fine. I'm gonna hit next, and now the rest is the usual onboarding, so help improve Ubuntu. I don't like the fact that the default is yes, like it's an opt-out telemetry service and not an opt-in, and I don't have an issue with sending some data over to the developers of an OS or an app because I know that it helps them, but I don't like it if it's pre-enabled basically. So I'm gonna keep it yes because I just want to actually send them some stuff, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's an opt-out service. Anyway, I'm gonna hit next and get started with applications. Yes, sure, finish. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll launch App Center, which I hate, and I'm gonna talk about it a bit later. And I'm gonna go ahead and install OBS as a deb package. It's no longer available. Perfect. So snap package it is. We don't have an official one, so OBS Studio unofficial. I'm gonna do latest stable. Install, and it's gonna require the password because why not? Snap, it probably needs your permissions or anything. I don't know. I'm gonna wait for it to install and start the recording from there, so at least the whole installation worked, and yeah. Be right back. And hello there, we're back. It's been well over an hour. I've had a few interesting experiences with Ubuntu, but at least now I'm finally set up and ready. So what happened? I launched the App Center, installed OBS, ran it, and it wasn't really working. I wasn't getting anything displayed, so I just rebooted my system and I encountered the same issue with the login screen not appearing. Logged back in, nothing. I logged out, and this time the login screen GDM appeared, and I was able to switch over to a Wayland session, and then logging in, nothing happened. So I hard reset my computer, booted again Ubuntu. The GDM didn't appear again, but I managed to log in without seeing it just by pressing my password and enter a couple of times, and it weirdly enough worked. If I go here to settings and about, this is Wayland, and this made actually OBS work. And if I launch it, it's a bit of a weird setup, and I did not configure anything. This is just how it came from Snap, and yeah, this is really an unofficial version because that's not how OBS is supposed to look like. So horrible. I would never use this again. But anyway, this is Ubuntu 24.04.1 LTS, which is perfect. And the only thing that I changed was on power. I changed the screen blank to never because I don't like powering off, turn my display off automatically. Yeah, And one thing that I realized, it's for some reason, it says that I have a second screen, although I don't. I actually do not, it's an unknown display. I don't have anything plugged into my computer that could make it believe that it's a display. I don't have any HDMI Type-C or anything, no, nothing. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. I've tried rebooting a couple of times, but no, doesn't work. It recognized my microphone perfectly fine, as well as my headphones, which is nice. Multitasking, this is completely the default settings, and this is how I like to have my GNOME set up, so yeah. Although this doesn't really work, because I think that it has like a hot corner. No, I don't know. Anyway, I just enabled this because why not? Yeah, cool. Under appearance, I normally really like dark themes, but for some reason I don't really like having a dark theme on Ubuntu. I'm not sure why. I just think that light is better for Ubuntu, so I'm gonna keep it like that. I love the Ubuntu theme and their wallpapers, they're just absolutely amazing, so I am not changing that. What I will change though is the accent color. Now, normally, Ubuntu used to have this, I think, this, not really this one actually, this accent color, you know, the little purple thingy, but they recently changed it to orange, which I don't really like, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm gonna change it either to this purplish color or this red, although it seems a little bit more pink to me, but I'm gonna do purple for now. And now we have an Ubuntu desktop category here, which is not something that you usually have with GNOME. And we can change our desktop icons, we can have them small or tiny, large. I normally don't really like having icons on my desktop, but since this is how Ubuntu wants to go about their desktop icons business, I'm gonna keep them. And bottom right, yes, bottom right. Auto hide the dock. No, I don't really like auto hiding the dock. I just like having it on my left side of the screen, which is perfect. Panel mode, yes, you can now change it to a dock if you want, which is amazing, but no, prefer the panel mode. And icon size, I think that's a bit too large by default on 48, so I would probably make it smaller, but hey, we're using it the way the developers intended it to, you know? Position on screen left, yes. And we can configure the behavior, include volumes and all that, yes. And tiling, sure, enable everything. When it comes to keyboard, I'm gonna add a brand new keyboard layout because, you know, I want to be able to type in Greek. So that's that. And typing super space, perfect. Normally I do configure the spatial characters entry category, like the alternate characters key and the compose key, to write alt and write control, but I can't be bothered right now, so yeah, I'm not gonna do that. And that's about it, that's my Ubuntu. As you can see, it has recognized everything. The NVIDIA drivers are all working perfectly fine. So now the only thing that I want to actually do in order to finish configuring is to install GNOME Twix, which should be a deb package. No, so I'm gonna have to launch a terminal. It's Control-Alt-T for anyone wondering, and I'm gonna do a sudo apt install GNOME Twix. I'm gonna type in my super secret password, and it found it and it's installing. Yay! And now I'm just gonna launch Twix. And I'll go over to, not appearance, what am I doing? Windows. And I want to have the title bar action buttons on the left, and I don't want to have the maximize button because that's useless. I can just do this every time, or I can double click or something. So yeah, and I'm gonna center new Windows. And that's pretty much it, that's all I want to do. So now that I basically have my Ubuntu configured the way that I like it, I wanna start talking about something, and that's updates. I know that I normally do all my criticism and all that after I've configured everything, but no, I want to touch on the App Center because I absolutely hate the App Center. It's awful. It has loads of unused real estate, like here, here, here. I don't think that it's pretty, not at all. Like transmission, sure, you get the bare minimum when it comes to information. And when you try to search for an app, like let's do again, let's do Firefox, you only get snap packages by default, even if there are none that match your search, and you have to change to Debian packages in order to find stuff. And now they are removing most deb packages, like you can't find most of them through here, selecting Debian packages, and even through the terminal sometimes you just use apt and it will install a snap if that exists, which is awful. I don't really have an issue with Ubuntu trying to push their own format and snap and all that, but I don't think that it's good when they're doing it like as a mandatory thing, like you have to use snaps for everything. I don't like that. And the thing that I hate the most about this App Store is that we have some updates here. Now this is a brand new version of Ubuntu, so the error and the bug that I really hate will not happen here. But basically how this whole page works is that it just displays the updates that the command you can type on the terminal brings back. And this means that it will also display updates to the Snap Store, and this App Center application is called Snap Store. This is the old Snap Store that we used to hate, basically, because it was just a fork of GNOME software. Now it's its own thing, but still awful. And as you can see, it hasn't even moved the title bar decorations over to the left like all my other apps have. But yeah, basically what will happen is that if Snap Store itself has an update, instead of pushing it through the main Ubuntu updater, it just displays it here. And when you hit on update all and enter your password, it will just immediately error out and fail because it can't update an app that's running, and you can't start the update from App Center if the app is not running. So now the solution to that is to obviously use the terminal. You should kill App Center and then update it, and that fixes it, sure, but is that really something that we expect a beginner or a newcomer or just someone who hasn't used Ubuntu to figure out, or someone who, you know, uses Linux as a desktop operating system but doesn't really care about snaps and flatpaks and all that? No, they're gonna have no idea how to use this. So that's one of the main issues that I have with this App Center and with Ubuntu in general. Like, it has a lot of these little and not really important bugs scattered all around the desktop. And for a distro that's supposed to be mainstream and the best and really popular and all that, I wasn't really expecting that. I was expecting it to be super flashed out and polished and amazing. But if I'm being 100% honest with you, Fedora is way more polished than Ubuntu. And also they've changed a lot of stuff. Like now, if I go and open the activity overview, the dock stays here, whereas I think with 23.10 it used to slide outside of the screen, which I prefer. It's better, more polished. But yeah, and as you can see, updates finished, and you'd be like, oh great, we have no updates yet. False, we still have some updates. We need to launch the software updater to get to them, which is an idiotic approach. I know that's like a legacy thing because that's how they used to do the updating and all that, but still don't really like it. And if we go here, you can see that we have the normal like system updates and stuff, the Linux kernel and all that, but we also have some Ubuntu Pro security updates. So if I did not actually go and enable Ubuntu Pro, I would not get security updates, which is extremely important to have. So I'm gonna obviously install them now. It doesn't require a password, okay, sure, but having security updates is extremely important, and I'm not sure why they would lock that behind a subscription, essentially, because before attaching my license and my token to this computer, I had to go and sign up with an Ubuntu One account, which likely I already had since I was an Ubuntu user back in the day, I think in 2018. But it's a whole thing that you have to do in order to essentially just get updates. And most people just going through the onboarding and seeing the Ubuntu Pro subscription, they'll be like, oh, this requires a subscription service, so it's not free after all. No, I'm not using it, I'm uninstalling. And to be honest, uninstalling Ubuntu is probably a wise choice for most users, but most newcomers to Linux, if they were to uninstall Ubuntu, they wouldn't just go and install Linux Mint or Fedora or MX Linux or anything, literally anything else. They would just go straight back to Windows, which is not good. So, the software on this computer is up to date. I don't like the fact that this is a separate application, and you can see this throughout the whole OS, that like you have additional drivers and then you also have firmware updater. You have language support over here, and you have software and updates and software updater. I'm not sure why they can't merge this into one app, because this one is just your preferences essentially, and you also have the additional drivers right here. So why would you need another app shortcut essentially to get to here? I'm not really sure about that. And we obviously have the Ubuntu Pro support. And one thing that I find really interesting is the fact that with the normal catalog of applications, it doesn't include a media player. No, I am not kidding you. I started the recording from OBS because I wanted to test out that everything is working, and everything is working, and I go to play it. I double click, it says that there are no apps available. I'm like, maybe this has to do with Snap, so I copy it out of the Snap sandbox into my home directory, double click it, still the same. And I just realized that it has no media player application, which is awful. So I went ahead and installed Celluloid, and I decided to go against what Ubuntu was forcing me to do, and I installed this as a deb package. And I'm glad that I did that, because it boots faster than any other application, and it respects my theming and changes and all that. So yeah. Also, I just realized that I can move stuff to my Phantom display over there, which, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I'll lose them forever. But yeah, I finally configured it, although I didn't really have to do anything, because I like how Ubuntu works by default. I like having the top bar and that other bar here, my desk bar. I think that's what Unity called it, because essentially this is Unity. They just were like, you know what, no, we won't develop our own desktop, we just steal someone else's work and make it look like what we wanted, which I think is awful, and I'm 100% positive that Canonical should develop Unity or another desktop environment that actually works the way they want it to, because this is just bugs upon bugs upon bugs. But yeah, I like having my drives here, I like having my trash can here. I don't really like this show apps logo, but it's okay. I still love this background color, but anyway, now that I finally finished doing everything, I can just start using it daily, sadly. Live stream a video over on YouTube. I will try to edit that video, and actually I'm gonna go ahead and grab the DaVinci Resolve zip file that I have, because I want to install it. And I hope that this will work. Luckily, both my hard drive and my SSD is pretty fast, so this is only taking like 10 seconds. Perfect, and I'll go ahead and extract this over here, which might take a bit longer than that. And now that I have it, I will make sure that it has the right permissions, and I'll double click it, and it should just automatically work, essentially, install. And I'm gonna unmount my data drive because I don't want it to be mounted all the time. And it doesn't seem like it wants to work. Yeah, it doesn't really want to work, as it turns out. Let's try. We don't have Fuse. Alright, let's install Fuse. So... Oh! Org.gnome.nautilus. I'm not sure what happened here. Wait, hold up. So there are two different packages, Fuse and Fuse 3. And I had Fuse 3 pre-installed. And this somehow messed the whole OS? What? Yes, it's gone. What? Alright, Nautilus is gone, as it turns out. It was probably a snap package or something. going on? Snap search Nautilus. No. So sudo apt install Nautilus. Yes, install it. And now it's back. What's going on? Let's try again. Missing or outdated system package detected. Alright, this is normal. I'm not sure what happened before. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, I'm gonna try to troubleshoot this and continue on with the dive basically, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. It's gonna be instantaneous for you, but yeah, 2 weeks for me. And we're back. It's been over 2 weeks at this point. Today is actually Saturday the 21st of September, and I have a lot to talk about Ubuntu. I was expecting so much more, because like I know that Ubuntu doesn't really have the best reputation nowadays, but I still had it in my brain like Ubuntu is the most popular Linux distro, it's super beginner friendly, it's super polished, and it does sometimes make not the best decisions, but it doesn't really affect the actual product. Like it might affect some aspects like the whole snap thing, but not the usability of the product. Well, I was wrong about that. You see, I wanted this to go amazingly well because I used to love Ubuntu, I used to run Ubuntu daily, and it was like one of the first distros that I ever used, probably the first one. It was Ubuntu 14.04, and Unity was amazing, but I'll come back to that later. So, what happened? Well, right after I finished recording the previous clip that you just saw, I just started using it daily. So I just launched Firefox, I signed into my accounts, and I watched some YouTube. Everything went perfectly fine. I searched for more updates, there weren't any available. So I just left it there. And for the next couple of days, for the next like four-ish days, I was just essentially doing the same because I didn't really have a lot of things to do. So yeah, I was chilling and everything was fine. Now, there were some bugs here and there, like some dialogues not popping up correctly and some really choppy animations, but for the most part, it was smooth sailing. Although I did have that little bug of the loading screen, GDM not wanting to load, that still persisted, in case you're wondering. It was there the whole time, but hey, I had the same bug with Fedora, probably like 4 or 5 releases ago, so yeah. But then my schedule got busy once again, so I completely stopped using this computer. I was only using my MacBook and my phone, you know, and when I had to do something, I would boot into Fedora, because it was like critical stuff. I couldn't just test it on Ubuntu. But that took me like, I don't know, half an hour at most. Now, here comes Monday the 16th of September, and I booted back into Ubuntu because I wanted to get everything configured and set up for the live gaming section of this series, which was scheduled on the 18th of September, so that was Monday to Wednesday. So I boot Ubuntu, everything was booting normally, until I saw this little lovely thing. Now, I'm not really an expert on how Ubuntu is supposed to start and what services are supposed to start, but I also know that it didn't error out. It's not like something crashed and it just stayed like that. It was supposed to start GDM. And at first I was like, oh yeah, it's that like issue with GDM not showing up. So I hit enter, type in my super secret password, hit enter again, nothing. I changed into a TTY, tried to start X from there and GDM and nothing. This would actually crash the whole system. I rebooted a couple of times, nothing. Tried to manually update everything, again nothing. Removed the NVIDIA drivers and reinstalled, nothing. So yeah, I honestly have no idea why that happened, completely out of the blue. It was not an issue with my hard drive because I used it again and it was working perfectly fine. So from what I'm guessing, this was an issue with the NVIDIA drivers, and I'm guessing that that was why I had so many problems with Linux Mint, because Linux Mint was based, and it's still based, what am I saying, is based on Ubuntu. So if Ubuntu has an issue, then probably Linux Mint will kinda share it. But anyway, it was still Monday, so I'm like, you know what, let's reinstall Ubuntu. Why not? These things happen. I reinstall, everything was working perfectly fine, and then 5 reboots later or something, did the same thing. And this time, it was an hour prior to the live stream. So I had everything set up and ready to go, and it didn't work. And at that point, I wasn't going to reinstall Ubuntu, reset everything to the way it was, and then download OBS and games and all that. No. So a couple of minutes late, I jump into stream from my Fedora installation and announce that, hey, live gaming is not happening today, guys. And that was essentially where the dive ended for me. It technically was cut short, but even if everything was working perfectly fine and I could live stream the gaming parts, I'm not sure how well I could edit them, because I could not for the life of me get DaVinci Resolve installed properly. Once I managed to see the splash screen pop up, but then it would crash. And that was the furthest that I got. I could not get it running. And honestly, looking back, I have no idea what I was doing wrong. I just downloaded it from the website of Blackmagic Design, and then I just launched the installer like I do every single time. It prompted me to install some packages. I tried doing that, both on camera and off camera, so... And before you start questioning, whoa, what version did you try to install? Maybe it was a known bug. Every single version I could find on the website, so from the 18 and the 19 open beta series. Although it might be out of beta now, I can't remember honestly, but yeah. And so I already had some issues with Ubuntu and all the bugs and all the snaps and stuff. Then I was not able to install DaVinci Resolve, which made me furious because I know how to install the software. And then the whole thing happened, which basically rendered my system completely unusable if I want to do something graphical, which is most of the stuff that I do. So needless to say, it was a fail, once again. Although not as big of a fail as with Linux Mint, because yes, I said that I was really disappointed in Linux Mint, but that was because I absolutely love it, and I still do, and I still recommend it to most people, and I believe that's one of the best Linux distros out there, and it's probably sharing like second place with MX Linux and Antics. And especially now, having used Ubuntu for a couple of days, although it was supposed to be 2 weeks, technically, I believe that I was really harsh towards Linux Mint, because probably it was an Ubuntu base issue. I'm 99% sure that it has to do with the NVIDIA drivers and my GPU. I have the 1650, and I remember ever since I got it, when trying to install an Ubuntu based distro and install the drivers, it would not work. I remember with Ubuntu Cinnamon Remix back then, it wasn't an official flavor, that I just couldn't get the drivers installed. Linux Mint, same, although last time I managed to, although they were borked after an update and I had to roll back to the previous version. And now with Ubuntu, I didn't have to install them because they were automatically installed, I guess, but then they just decided to stop working technically. Like I already have some bugs, graphical bugs and issues, but then it just rendered my system unusable. And I'm honestly not sure what I should do now. Should I just say that Ubuntu is horrible and everyone should move on? Should I say that, hey, maybe it was me, I'm the idiot? And I'm honestly not sure what to do, because Ubuntu used to be amazing. I used to absolutely love Ubuntu, and there was a time that I used to praise Canonical for their amazing OS. And then I just decided to abandon SIP technically. I went with Solus for a couple of months, a year, maybe a bit more than that. I was loving it, but then that stuff happened with Solus, you know. So I just stayed on Fedora. Ever since then, it's been like probably over 4 years that I'm just Fedora only, and I absolutely love it. I'm never going back, although you should never say never, but it's far better than any other distro, super stable. And I've actually been trying another distro recently, Vanilla OS, and I'm pretty sure that it has some potential, although I have some issues with it, but hey, that's a topic for a different episode. But yeah, at the end of the day, I actually and truly and honestly believe that Canonical doesn't really care about Ubuntu anymore and hasn't cared about Ubuntu in ages, in years, probably ever since 2004. And I get it, they're a huge company, super profitable from what I know, and they have loads and loads of customers and other businesses that they work with, and that's okay. But I think that instead of just leaving some guys to work with Ubuntu, they just taken everything away and be like, yeah, whoever wants to work on it, they can. And that's not what they should do, because they've made terrible decisions in the past, like the integration with Amazon. I don't remember the exact version that this happened with, but I honestly remember using that version, so it was probably 1604, with the amazing Unity desktop environment, which I love to this date. I'm not using it, I'm not using Ubuntu Unity Remix, or its flavor now, yeah, I forgot it, just because it's really outdated now. But honestly, back then it was an amazing desktop, and it just highlights that Canonical doesn't really want to do any actual work, because they announced the whole thing with being able to connect it to your phone and use it, and it will be the same desktop, and that you can connect it to a TV, then your phone, and it will just be normal Ubuntu Unity. And I know that it's not an easy thing to do, so they probably put things down and be like, yeah, this is costing us way too much, no one's gonna use it really, so let's just abandon it. And that's completely fine, that's what they should have done. But they actually decided to abandon Unity altogether. They jumped straight back into GNOME, and ever since they've just tried to use extensions to mimic Unity. It's like they want to make their own desktop environment and desktop experience, but without actually making it. So they're stealing GNOME's work, trying to put their own little spin on it, but when you bloat it with so many extensions and try to use a completely different layout, and not just the layout, like the whole way that the desktop works, the whole workflow, it's obviously gonna start starting up, because that's not what it was supposed to be like. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. It just seems like they're making bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, because yeah, they partnered with Amazon, but then they parted ways, because people didn't like that, and that's awesome. But then they went with snaps, and people didn't like that, but they just went full in with snaps, and they know the limitations of snaps, and they still don't really want to fix them, technically. And okay, yeah, technically I know that snaps are like amazing for servers and all that jazz, but hey, I'm not running a server. I'm running a workstation, a home computer, a desktop, and I honestly prefer Flatpaks. To this day, I don't think that there's a better packaging solution yet. And it's not only the bad choices, it's the bad choices combined with the fact that they just don't care anymore to fix bugs and stuff. They just want to push out new releases, stick to their normal release schedule, and be like, yeah, we put something out once again, we are the best, so yeah, we don't really care. And alright, that's how they want to run their operation, that's totally fine. But then again, Ubuntu, sadly, is the most popular Linux distro out there. 99.99999% of Windows users or Mac OS users that want to jump into Linux will just Google search what is the most popular Linux or what is Linux, and it would pop up with Ubuntu Linux. And then they'd be like, yeah, that's the most popular one, let's install it. And that's not good. If you were to ask me, my recommendation for just brand new noobs will still be Linux Mint. It wouldn't be Zorin. I'm not sure what happened with Zorin, I no longer like it all that much. They have a super weird release schedule and that, no. And then I would say that Elementary OS is an amazing OS, both for beginners and like intermediate users, but then again, they've made some weird choices, which for me are okay, I can change them really easily, but for a brand new user, no, they would hate Linux. Although technically, Mint has done kinda the same thing, but it's more obvious. And anyway, and then honestly, Fedora. Like, I know that it's not really a beginner's distro, but then at the same time, it's not really that hard to use. And with Silverblue especially, which is the distro that I've been using for the past year and a half, might be even coming up to 2 years now, I can't remember. It's amazing! It works so well, updates are seamless, and I can't get it to break. I don't think that I've ever borked my system. Oh wait, no, I have. But hey, that was an accident. Like, I was trying to delete something, and I accidentally deleted everything, like my root NVMe, but then because this is a read-only file system, I could not delete my personal files, so my home folder was completely protected, so, and my .config files and all that. So the only thing that I actually end up doing was I just reinstalled and then copied over everything, and it was exactly the way that I left it. Although now that I'm thinking about it, couldn't I just boot into a previous image and then roll back, or wouldn't that work? I honestly don't know. It was extremely fast either way, like it took me 15 minutes for the whole installation and configuration, and then probably an hour and a half just to copy over the files because I have slow drives. But yeah, I'm getting extremely sidetracked, probably because of the hate that I have towards Ubuntu. I don't really want to talk about it. But yeah, I was getting into this being like, amazing, Ubuntu, I love it. I was actually fully planning into hopping back into Ubuntu full time. I know it sounds extremely weird coming from me, but I was actually thinking about that. But now, no way. I would rather use Haiku OS as my main drive, and it doesn't ever support NVIDIA. As far as I'm concerned, at least, I can't get it to boot on this computer. But I would honestly just rather use Haiku. It's an amazing OS. I love it. Heck, I would even use FreeBSD, which I started getting into lately, and I absolutely love FreeBSD. And before you start commenting, I know that both Haiku OS and FreeBSD are not Linux distros. Obviously, Haiku is based on BOS, loosely based, and it's independent, and then FreeBSD is BSD, obviously. I know that. I'm just saying that I would rather use those really not so mainstream operating systems. Like, if Linux desktop is like 3.something%, then BSD desktop is like 0.1%, and Haiku 0.00008% or something. And I would rather use it. I think that I would have a better experience over there. But anyway, I don't want to drag this episode far out. It's already way too long for me, and I've already edited most of it, but I still need to edit this. So that concludes Distro Dive episode 2. It was originally Alpine Linux, then it changed into Ubuntu, and then into whatever this thing is right now. But yeah, Ubuntu, Noble Numbat, the dive has concluded. I hope that you enjoyed whatever this thing was. I honestly have no actual idea what it was. It was just basically my thoughts on Ubuntu and why I hate it. So yeah, please don't use Ubuntu, please use Linux Mint or MX or Debian. Even Debian is far better. And yeah, that's it. What's my unofficial rating of Ubuntu Noble Numbat? 0. -500 or something. Because I wouldn't have an issue if those bugs weren't there. Like, coming from Fedora, which is extremely stable and has almost zero bugs, Ubuntu was a mess. That was Distro Dive 2. When's 3 coming out? I honestly don't know. It's whenever I actually have time and actually want to dive into something. But don't worry, you can follow Distro Dive over on Instagram. It's instagram.com/@DistroDive. You will learn everything over there first, and then if you don't really want to use Instagram, which I get you shouldn't really use Instagram, you can head over to papasfilmsofficial.github.io/DistroDive. It's basically the same exact thing, just without Instagram, basically. And then if you actually care about me, that guy, you can follow me everywhere. I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@papasfilms. The P and F are capitalized. And I have loads of social media. I will pop some over here, like, yeah. You might have seen that Twitter is gone and it's replaced by Threads because fuck Elon. But yeah, another dive has concluded. See you next time.